Welcome back to the Pursuit of Accuracy. I'm Josh, and today we're here to talk about the newest Juggernaut in the $1,500 lineup of optics, the Leupold Mark IV HD. Now we are going to talk all about this scope, what you do get, what you don't get for your money. But if you are here looking at this video because this is sitting in your shopping cart online somewhere and you're wondering if it's worth your $1,500 investment, then the short answer is 110% yes. But if you want to stick around for the long answer, all the ins and outs of this scope, let's get into it now. So lots to unpack here, but first let's talk about the model I have. This is the 6-24. This is in mils, so you are getting 10 mils per revolution on this, and I have this in the PR2 reticle. That's kind of the reticle I gravitate towards with the Leupolds. Now, I don't have a lot of experience, but those of you guys who are watching this video who have had the Mark V and you're wondering how it compares, I did ask my buddy Len to come out and take a look at this. He is a Mark V shooter, and he was, let's just say, impressed. The one thing that I think is important to mention in this video is coming from a Mark V owner like Len. He did say that these turrets do not quite feel like the Mark V, and I think what he was referring to and what he called is they weren't as clicky, is that these don't have quite the amount of tension on the turrets that the Mark V did. Now, not saying that these are bad at all, because they are very tactile and they are very clicky, and a lot like the Mark V, you do have the locking turrets. And I didn't know how much I was going to like this, but I've actually kind of fallen in love with them. And speaking of you Mark V owners, there are a few corrections. You will notice the parallax and the windage markers are now basically like every other scope in the model. And if you have a Mark V, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They kind of had those witness marks at a weird kind of position up here, and whereas every other scope kind of makes them exactly at 90 degrees. So on the Mark IV HDs, another change coming from a Mark V to a Mark IV, you'll notice is that this parallax down a lot closer. Now, Mark Vs were supposed to parallax to 50 yards. A lot of people complain that they didn't. So rimfire guys who zero and shoot at 50 a lot, they kind of shied away from the Mark V, or at least had some heartburn over the Mark V not being able to parallax down to 50 truly. Now on the Mark IV, you can see the last indicator is 35, but this does parallax down to 25. And I did test this, and you'll see on the scope cam footage now, we're looking at around 30-yard targets. So for rimfire, this will absolutely now parallax down far enough to where you can use a Mark IV HD and NRL 22, PRS 22, all the popular 22 competitions. So it does appear that not only did Leupold make some corrections, but they listened to their customer feedback and they made those corrections based on that. So now that we've went through basically what I have and, you know, kind of how this compares a little bit to the Mark V, obviously at $1,500, it's a lot more affordable. Let's talk about glass quality. I know that that is something that almost everybody's interested in. And I can tell you without a shadow of doubt, this is probably the best glass at $1,500 you're going to get. I did compare this side by side with my Traktoric, and those of you who watch the channel know I hold the Traktoric ELR in very, very high regard in glass quality and features. And side by side out to 180, 200 yards, I could not tell a difference. This glass for $1,500 is just crazy good. I mean, crazy, crazy good. I don't think that you can go wrong spending $1,500 on this optic. Now, a few minutes ago, I said that I would talk about what you get with this and what you don't. So you get great glass quality. Let's talk about something you don't get. You don't get a ton of weight. And I know there's a bunch of you out there who are ounce weenies. Me personally, I don't mind a heavy optic. This scope, if you go look at the specs, I'm not the reviewer that is going to just ramble about the specs you can read on the website, but this optic comes in much lighter than the competition in that $1,500 to $1,700 price point. So you're getting really good glass You don't have quite as much weight on it, which is a good thing, but you also don't get a few things, and it's really going to be up to you to decide if those are important. First thing is 6 to 24, you're not going to get illumination. Personally, I do like to have illumination on my optics. I don't very rarely use it, and I don't know why I like to have it, but I do like to have it. I also like to run sunshades. Now, when you get the Leupold Mark IV HD, you're going to get the box, you're going to get a little tool, you're going to get this little bikini top, but you're not going to get illumination, and you are not going to get a sunshade. Now, they sell them for somewhere around 60 bucks. So when you're looking at the price point of $1,500, and this is competing with scopes several $100s more, you could just buy the sunshade. So really, not having illumination, not having a sunshade, that's really going to be a personal thing. Some of you don't use sunshade, some of you don't use illumination, and you won't care. Now again, we touched on this before, but you do have a locking zero turret. You can go below that locking zero. The turrets are very easy to reset. You've got basically a couple little grub screws here. You loosen them up, you move your turret, you set your zero, and you're done. But as you can see there, it does lock on zero. Now again, I'm not the guy who reads a bunch of specs. What I did was I put this on my 22 rifle, I put it in this mount, and I zeroed it, and I am able to get, that's 10 mils, 20 mils, 23.7 mils of elevation travel from my zero. And that's something I talk about a lot, and while it may be relative, I think it's important for you guys to know who may be shooting 22s, who want to know realistically what you're going to get out of this. I say depending on your mount, you're probably going to get 20 plus mils of elevation, which on a 22 long rifle shooting match ammo is going to get you out to 400 yards. So as far as it being equipped to use in 22 long rifle for ELR, PRS, NRL 22, you won't be lacking in the elevation travel department. Now, like the other optics for the Leupolds, you do have the locking piece there, but this also serves as your rev indicator. So as we unlock here and turn this guy, you're going to see as we pass back by here, so that has sucked in to let you know you are on your next rev. And as we come back, you're going to see that it's going to protrude like normal again. Now, we've talked about what you don't get, and again, that's on this model, illumination, you don't get a sunshade, and we've talked about the fact that you're going to get a reticle that I think is very good and very usable, the PR2, and reticles are very much a personal choice, but I do like this reticle. The diopter on here is stiff but smooth, which is what I prefer. I want to set this and not have to worry about this thing moving around on me. The magnification controls, very smooth. It overall feels exactly how you would expect a $1,500 scope from Leupold to feel, which is buttery smooth and made with very high precision. So we've kind of talked a lot about this scope, and I want to just give you some real world feedback. I've shot this on my JPA R22. I've shot it on a CZ457. If you saw my last video, I did the impossible shots with this, and I'll tell you, the glass just doesn't disappoint. That's going to be the biggest thing you're going to notice on this is, one, it's lightweight, two, you're going to get really good glass. And I was able to see 22 long rifle shells at 150 yards and be able to shoot them, and that says a lot about this as far as its quality and the level of craftsmanship that they put into making this optic. So having shot this on both rifles, I really enjoy the 6 to 24. For this model, of course, you are limited. That's how they're saving money, is by making this a 4 times magnification. You have a 4.5 to 18, you have a 6 to 24, you have an 8 to 32. So when you're looking at the other scopes in this price range, like the Tractor, like the Athlon Cronus, those have more magnification. So on, you're looking at 5 to 30, 4.5 to 30, those 5 to 6 time magnification. I tend to find myself shooting around 10 to 16 power unless I'm just zeroing the gun. If you're doing a lot of 50-yard shooting, 24 power may not be enough for you, especially if you're going out to 100 yards. You may have to look at the 8 to 32. But for an all-purpose scope for shooting DMR, PRS, rimfire, and just playing around, the 6 to 24 was a really good choice, and I have been extremely happy with this, especially for the price point. Now, and it's hard to have a review without, knocking them on something. The only thing I can knock these guys on, and I'll have to show you this up close, is how the turrets are printed out. And if you take a look at the numbers, as I roll around into the higher numbers, I become less sure where exactly that number line is, as it covers up most of the line. Now you can see it, and it is usable. I think I will get used to it over time. It's just the fact that at first glance, first impressions, first uses, there were times when I needed to dial to 8 mils, and I wasn't totally sure I was on exactly 8. I could have been 7.9 or 8.1. So when you're trying to move this quickly and get to that dial, sometimes those numbers are so close to the bottom that it can be a little bit confusing. Again, I think that's something with use you would become very quickly familiar with and wouldn't be a problem. But for someone picking it up for the first time, that is something that I noticed, that I wish the number was a little bit higher, or maybe there was some sort of red indicator on the number position itself, and I may add that to my turret to help me, but I think it could have used that a little bit from the factory. But overall, guys, I can't recommend this highly enough. I still love the Tractor at the $1,700 price point. You're getting illumination, sunshade, all those features, but I think there are guys like you out there who don't care about illumination, who don't care about having to buy their own sunshade after the fact. And at its price point, I really, really think this is going to be a game changer in the $1,500 price point of optics. And it's very exciting to see companies like Leupold pushing that limit. We'll see other companies, I think, respond to this in this price point. And it's already been super competitive, which is great for us, the consumer, as these guys are driving innovation at an affordable price point. And when that happens, as shooters, we win. So I appreciate you guys watching this review. We will have this again. You will see this on the channel. It's going to be floating around on different rifles, and I will do a follow-up kind of shorter review on this. Right now I probably have about 1,000 rounds on this between 3 guns. But as we get up to the 4 or 5 months ownership, then I'll let you know if things have still held up. I have no doubt they will. I'm also going to try and get my hands on the 4.5 to 18, because it does have illumination. And the Mark IVs with illumination, this hadn't been talked about a lot, they have like a feature where you can press and hold it for a certain amount of time, and it basically turns on a level for your reticle. And when your reticle becomes level, I believe that it illuminates. And for DMR stuff where you don't need a ton of magnification, I'm really excited to try that out, because I think that's going to be a great feature set for that style of rifle. So I'm going to get with Leupold, see if I can get me a discount on a 4.5 to 18, or just get one in for review, because I'm really excited to look at that. But thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.